As you probably know, yesterday there were European elections and the results are in. Obviously, I'm going to talk about mostly of Portugal, but it was interesting to see, and also expected considering the events of the last 4 years, it was interesting to see that the right-leaning parties are growing and the European Parliament will see a big change in its constitution in the next few weeks or months. I don't know how long it takes for these new people that will take seats in the European Parliament to take their seats. But anyway, it's a good thing because the European Union has become a dictatorship in formation, and absolutely no one with a brain should want that. And it's good to see that the more conservative parties are gaining strength, because they have lost that strength, and that made sure that the leftist and globalist parties took over and absolutely destroyed pretty much every country that accepted everything that the European Union wants to push for. We are talking about a federalist superstate where there are no countries. Everyone surrenders their sovereignty to the EU, to people like Jean-Claude Juncker that isn't even elected by any country. No one votes for him or for his job, yet he is there making decisions. They want to abolish all types of borders, because you have to understand that the European Parliament is nothing more than the lobbyist dream. People like George Soros, that for example controls most of the left-leaning and far left-leaning parties in Portugal, every single one of these people in the Socialist Party or the Left Bloc or the Communist Party that are in the European Parliament, they appear in the documents of Open Society, which is a foundation from George Soros. These people will vote exactly for whatever George Soros wants to push for. And George Soros, that is a person that deals in human trafficking, he will obviously fill their pockets and essentially finance their campaigns if the socialists, the left bloc, and the communists, push for open border policies. And that's why the European Parliament is one of the most corrupt things that exist in this world. It's an absolute facade that they try to state that the European Union is very democratic, while we don't elect most of the people that actually make the decisions. They claim to be democratic, while the people in the European Parliament are actually being moved by every single interest other than the interests of their own country. So there's nothing democratic about the European Union. And to see these parties that are against this establishment growing in the European Parliament is a good thing. And this has happened in many countries. Some were more disappointing, others were a good surprise, and others were expected. Either the fact that the right-leaning parties grew even further, or that they haven't even grown at all. And Portugal is part of that group. Portugal has seen the exact same type of voting that it has seen in the past 45 years. I mean, it's always the same in Portugal. The Portuguese people have very little ability to promote any sort of change. And not only that, they have made things worse, and I'm going to get to that. So the socialists have won the most seats. They had 8 in 2014, and now they have 7 in 2019, which equates to 33.4% in voter turnout for the socialists. In second place, we have the Social Democrats with 4 seats in the European Parliament, which equates to 21.9% of the voter turnout for the Social Democrats. And then I guess it's the big surprise, the one in third, which in 2014 had 1 seat in the European Parliament. It is now getting 2 seats, and it essentially doubled its voters from 2014. In 2014, it had 4.6, 1 seat, and in 2019, it had 9.8, so more than double. 9.8% which equates to 2 seats. And again, if you've seen my videos, you'll understand that the left bloc is one of the most hard left parties that you will find. This is the party that pushes for identity politics. This is the party that pushes for laws for sex change to minors. This is the party that wants reparations paid to the descendants of slaves hundreds and hundreds of years ago. In fact, they even go as far as stating that property is theft. Property, anything that you own, is actually theft because it should belong to the state. This is the party that the voting people in Portugal decided to double their votes. I think that the voting in the left bloc clearly shows just how lost Portugal is, just how completely insane it is. And I'm going to talk about the abstention numbers in a bit, which I think are also very revealing of this. The Portuguese people are very ignorant in the way they vote and also in the way that they don't vote. But I'll get to that. In fourth place, of course, we have the communists with 1 seat and 6.9% of the votes for the communists. So in the first 4 places, we have left-leaning parties. We have the socialists, left-leaning. We have the social democrats, center-left-leaning. We have the left bloc, extreme hard left. And the communists, another one extreme hard left, although they don't go as far as the left bloc in many cases. And they had 3 seats, so they lost 2. In 2014, with 12.7%, they had 3 seats. And in 2019, they have 1 seat, 6.9%. This is a big defeat for the communists, and they have seen this type of defeat in our midterm elections in 2017. It's good to see that the communists are losing so much because they have been essentially the 3rd biggest party in the past few years. But with the ascension of the left bloc, we are seeing the communists decline while the left bloc increases. So essentially we are replacing one hard left, extreme left party by another. But anyway, in 5th place, we have the tiny center party that I keep talking about. In 2014, this tiny center party was in coalition with the Social Democrats, and they got 6 seats in parliament. But this time they are not working as a coalition, so the Social Democrats by themselves got the 4 seats that I mentioned, and the tiny center party, the Popular Party, got 1 seat by themselves, 6.2%. And then another one of those that can be considered the winner of these elections, because they had absolutely no seats in 2014, and now they got 1. And this is it's a tiny party that has essentially always sided with the left and the far left. They are a left party anyway. That's what we have in Portugal. There is nothing else. So it's the Party for People, Animals and Nature. And it got 1 seat, 5.1% of voters. And then we have the results for the new parties or for the tiny parties that existed in the past but never really got any sort of significant votes for them. So in Portugal, absolutely no right-leaning party got any significant or more right-leaning, because again, we are talking about Portugal here. There is absolutely no right-leaning party whatsoever. The most that we can say is that these very small and also new parties are getting a more center to center-right vibe. They are not really right-leaning. They can be, like Iniciativa Liberal, in terms of economy and finances. They are very right-leaning, but then they also have some very left-leaning policies as well, even if they are not related with economy. But I would say that they sit in the center, if not a little bit leaning to the right. So a center-right party. Definitely no party in here is right-leaning. Even those that are just slightly to the right, they got pretty much nothing out of the ones that went to vote. And this is my second point related with the abstention numbers. Now, Portugal, as always, have very high abstention numbers. People simply do not go to vote. And the culture in this country in terms of elections seems to be, since Portuguese people as a whole, they don't trust the politicians, then they leave the decision to the fanatics. And when they leave the decision to the fanatics, it means that the same people will remain in government. The same policies will be applied again and again. And then the people that said that they don't trust politicians will complain about the situation. They will say, whoa, here we are again, we are poorer, we have less money, there are more taxes, how can this be? I don't trust politicians. This is the level of ignorance of the Portuguese people. And yesterday, certain journalists went to the beach to question people if they went to vote. The majority said no. The majority said that they don't trust politicians, and so they don't even waste time going to vote. Obviously, any normal person knows that they can do both. They can go vote and then go to the beach, or go to the beach and before 7 p.m. they can vote. But they don't care. They don't care. They say that they don't trust politicians, which is a sentiment I agree with. But how can you say that you don't trust them if you let the fanatics, the people that will always vote for the same types of politicians, the same type of policies, how can you let them decide the future of your country? It makes no sense. This is for the European elections, which have always had this type of abstention numbers. I think this is record-breaking, but we were always close to 70%. This time, we got 68.6% of abstention, which is an increase of 2.5 points. But we've always had these high abstention numbers for European elections. But when you think about the elections that determine the next government in Portugal, although the numbers aren't quite as high as these for abstention, we are still seeing quite high numbers. And the reasoning is always the same for these people. And I actually blame these people more for the state of our country, those that do not even go to vote. I blame these people more than those that actually go to vote for the same people again. Yes, that is a problem. Voting for the same people that have destroyed this country is a problem, and it just shows that whoever votes for these people, they have absolutely no idea what they are doing. They are ignorant about the situation of the country, and they are only thinking about themselves and what that particular politician says that they will give to them specifically. These people that vote for the same politicians, they only care about the immediate gain that they will get, and they ignore completely what the policies that the politicians they voted for are actually going to do to the country in terms of consequences for the future. So yes, the people voting for the same politicians are a problem, but I blame more these people that don't even go to vote, because they will be complaining about the state of the country, but do absolutely nothing to promote a change. Absolutely nothing. And seeing those idiots in the beach, oh, I don't trust politicians, so why waste my time? You can do both, you piece of shit. You can go to vote and then go to the beach. The beach is not going anywhere. You can definitely waste, and I use quotes in waste, 15 minutes or half an hour of your time just to put a freaking cross on a piece of paper. This is not rocket science. And if you are going to say that you don't trust politicians and you let the fanatics to put the same politicians in the same place that they were before, then you are the responsible. You are the responsible for the state of things in this country. You are responsible for the 3 bankruptcies in 45 years. You are responsible for the 3rd highest debt in Europe. You are responsible for the highest taxes that we have ever had in this country. You are responsible for the biggest cuts in this country that we have ever seen with the current government, the current left and far left government. This is your responsibility. If you don't go to vote, nothing will change. We are talking about nearly 70% of the voting population that didn't go to vote. This is infuriating. Portugal is not changing and doesn't want to change. But then the Portuguese people will complain that there is no change. Anyway, these are the results for the European elections in Portugal. I hope you like this, and I'll see you next time.